All right, everyone, welcome back into another awesome, fabulous rendition of Facts Not Feelings Friday. And I am so excited to introduce you all to one of my we're going to say my best, all-you-can-eat sushi friend, Josh Drean. And for anyone that doesn't know Josh Drean, I have known Josh. We've known each other since like 2011, I want to say. It's been a minute here. And Josh, when I first met you, we both were in the consultants for a CRM company. And you were and still are just a ball of positive energy. And I knew at the time when we both were working together that what you had much bigger aspirations. Not that what we were doing wasn't a good thing or, not it was just you had much bigger plans in store. And you definitely are fulfilling those and have fulfilled and will continue to fulfill what you're doing. Josh, I'm going to brag you up just a little bit. So I apologize up front if I'm going to embarrass you. So once again, those that don't know Josh, I'm just going to read a little bit about what Josh has done. And here we go. Josh, you've currently been featured on Harvard Business Review. You've been featured in Forbes, Bostinno, if I'm hopefully pronouncing that right. You've been on the Today Show, NBC, Fox Business, and your YouTube channel has millions of views. And you were named top 100 influencers of 2021. Am I missing anything there?
Nope. I think you added some stuff in there.
I don't think I did. In fact, I'm sure I missed something there. Josh is he's full, like I said, he's full of life. And like I said, going back to 2010, 2011, when we met, you had this goal that, hey, there's just so much more that I can be doing to help people, to shed a light on making this world a better place. And you have so done that. And I'm going to turn the time now over to you on some of the things that you've done to make this world a better place. And I know that we met each other in the auto industry, but you've done so much more, like I said, just to help people around you. And I've loved watching your journey and watching you just explode and to take your message, I'm going to say worldwide, because everyone is able to see you on a digital platform. So Josh, the floor is yours.
That's right. The digital, I'll make a video, you guys watch it in India, and we can call it international business, right?
Yes, exactly.
And thank you so much for the invite first to be here, as well as, gosh, that wonderful intro. I just want to go back to the bestie sushi friends, like just some context there. Like at the CRM, we would travel a lot and we would help implement the software. And we'd spend, weeks on the road at times. And Brooke and I would we'd get linked up together where we would like go do the dealership thing. We would like implement the software and then we'd go to dinner. And like every night we'd sit in the car and we're like, all right, what are we doing for dinner? And we just look at each other and be like, sushi. 5 nights in a row, the biggest plates of sushi. And we would just eat it and like talk about everything. So
much sushi.
That was the pinnacle of my experience. And it's just been super fun to watch you as well, like evolve into what you are today. Like there's so much going on here, but I'm sure we can catch up and talk about it all as we go along. I just maybe filling in some context there, right? So I, right out of college, got my undergrad degree in psychology and started working for, the CRM in the auto industry. Had no idea, like no experience with, auto dealerships, any of it. And I learned a ton at this company. 2 years, it was amazing. But I did kind of like have this dream to go off and be like a youth motivational speaker, where you get in front of high schools or middle schools. I don't know if you ever did that growing up, but like you remember the principal getting on the intercom and saying, everyone come down to the gym, come down to the auditorium. We have a motivational speaker who's going to talk to you about anti-bullying. And then a bunch of kids begrudgingly come into the auditorium and sit down. They hand me a mic and say, you've got an hour, inspire these kids. That's something that I wanted to do. And so like, as I was, kind of wrapping up my job there, I went off and started working on it and speaking. And, one thing led to another where I kind of snowballed into, I was traveling all over the country, doing about 150 schools a year with a message just to help teens be positive. And it was all about, there's a ton of research behind it, but it was about how do you like develop resiliency in today's world with social media? How do you have empathy for your peers? How do you have potential for in finding your potential and the potential in others? And in so doing, I kind of learned that like a 1 hour presentation on stage is fun and it's cool. Like we vibed a lot with the kids, but like that doesn't have the power to change the culture of the school at all. And I mean, there are probably one or two kids in there who had an aha moment and they took that and they ran with it. So on an individual level, it was amazing. But as I kind of went to the school and realized that like the culture that the school had established is great, but the subculture of the school, like on social media that the kids are running, is completely different. And there's nothing that these adults could do to like get the kids to change what they were doing unless they actually knew. So, anyways, I started doing like a teachers in service where I would teach teachers how to have open conversations with students and make them more an active part of developing the school culture. I would sit down with student leaders and just kind of do a, hey, like, I'm cool, talk to me, what's going on? And then kind of like create an environment of trust and authenticity where they would talk to me about what they were experiencing. And to be honest, like, yeah, kids bully each other, but they don't like it. Like, no one likes to be put down. No one really likes to like feel that. And so they were bought into doing something with the culture. There was just this disconnect. And then I started consulting with the principal and the assistant principals and said, hey, this is what I'm hearing from the kids. This is how we're missing it. This is how you can invite them to the table to help shape that culture. And that was a lot of fun. I realized that I needed to learn more in order to do that effectively. So I went off to college. I lived in Boston for 6 years. I got a master's degree at Harvard University. I was building a startup out of the Harvard Innovation Labs we called it pioneering sentiment analysis in real time. Essentially, it was how can we hear employees? I mean, the same thing that's happening within schools is happening in every organization to an extent where the company can like slap on, this statement of this is the company culture and here are our values. And they put it up, in the break room and then employees don't even care and they don't even live it. And even leaders don't even like ascribe to it. So there's just this huge disconnect. So we were trying to figure out how do we give students at schools, how do we give employees more of a voice to understand their experience at work? Is it positive? Is it negative? And create that trusting environment where they will tell us. The pandemic had other ideas for our startup, so it kind of died.
I don't know why.
Yeah, just, funding dried up, everything went crazy. And so we just kind of tucked it back on the shelf. But what's really interesting is the industry that I work in is the industry of employee experience design is how it's being labeled. And the whole concept is, there's been a huge shift in power for employees, all the way from like the Industrial Revolution of like, hey, like I'm going to put you in a factory for 12 hours a day. You're going to go work for very little money and it's better than being a farmer. So no offense, farmers. That's just kind of the mentality. But then like it evolved from that to like now all of a sudden we have unions who are fighting for better wages and better hours. And then we have like the formation of the labor department, the Department of Labor. And then we kind of got into this like discretionary effort realm where it's like, sure, you have a 9 to 5 job and the contract that we have is I pay you a certain amount of money and you give me a certain amount of work. Usually takes in the form of a 9 to 5 job, and anything outside of that, it's your business. Everything inside of that, it's our business. And then it just like has evolved into what it is today, where like the 9 to 5 doesn't even really exist anymore. And employers don't even have visibility into like employees' workflows. And now employees are quitting in mass with the Great Resignation, and they're not going back to work. They're like, forget you, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And like employers can't find people to work. And so all of that is context around my industry is employee experience design. We really do need to understand what employees are experiencing at work, and we need to design for them, because if they're unhappy, they're going to do less work, they're going to quit, and we're not going to have the ability to bring more people on. And the pandemic has accelerated that. So that's where I am today. I live in Minnesota. I work for a company called LeapGen. We do HR transformation. And here we are sitting in front of you today. So thanks again for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. No, I think it's so important, and it doesn't matter what field in which you reside. It is so important. And yes, as the pandemic accelerated this the Great Resignation, 100% yes. But it also has given employees a voice, which is so important, because before it was, oh, I'm just going to continue to do this. And I am, as anyone that knows me knows, that I am a bit of a perfectionist and an overworker. That it was I'll work 7 days a week. I'm going to put the 15 hours in. But there is a way to do this, work smarter, not harder. And is your employee going to pay you the same amount whether you work the 10 hours or the 8 hours or the 17 hours? They're going to pay the same amount. So once again, giving that voice to the employee and making sure there's got to be a culture shift here to say, are our employees happy? And what are you doing to ensure that they are happy? Are you checking in? What protocols are in place? What gates are in place to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Employee, what are we doing? How can we better the experience for you? Because if you're just throwing them in there without training, what is the expectation that they're going to stay with you? If you continue to beat your head against the wall and expect things are going to change, no, they're not. Well, we're just going to give a massive, my pet peeve right now with the sign-on bonus drives me crazy. We're going to give you a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Great. What about every single other employee that stayed on during the pandemic that had that got furloughed or had their salary cut by 50%, that worked extra hours because everyone else was furloughed or whatever? The rest of us that were put through hell, in essence, do we get a sign-on bonus? Did our salary get upped? But Joe Schmo over here is getting a $5,000 sign-on bonus. But when I go ask you for a raise, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the money for that. Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? So there's just got to be a culture shift here where we treat our employees and put the employee first. If we're putting the customer first, that's great and fantastic. What about our employees? You've got to take care of the employee. You're just continue to have this a massive turnover and turnover and turnover and turnover. So I absolutely love what you're doing. And more and more and more people need to hear this message. Cannot stress this enough.
Well, I mean, you're highlighting some things that are really important for us to rethink. First off, the concept of a sign-on bonus is you only care about money. Mm-hmm. Or the benefits. We're padding this with the extrinsic motivators. Yep. And that worked back in the 90s. Yeah. But nowadays people are like, oh, so you're going to give me $5,000 to hate my job in 3 months. Yep. And I just got to tough it out so I can have that money. And some people still are motivated by that. But I think the big shift that we've seen is that people are like, no. I want a job that I actually like, people that treat me well. And that, I see right through your facade, right? This is an employer brand saying, look at how cool we are. Look at how amazing. Come on in. And then you get on the inside and you see the people who did stick it out in the pandemic and they're miserable and they're not treated well. And that's a huge red flag for me, who just came onto the organization. Is these people hate their job. They don't like me and they don't like anyone else. And so they're you have to rethink that whole process, because eventually it's going to catch up with you, not monetarily, right? Maybe you can continue to pay the $5,000 bonus, but what's next? A $10,000 bonus and 11, how long is that going to go on? And what's the retention rate? Do people leave after 8 months? I mean, right now you're seeing 64% of first year workers are quitting. And that blows me away to even think about. They come in, they realize, oh, you lied to me. Your culture actually does suck. Actually, it's not really that great. And then they just go out the other door.
Yeah, it's just amazing that when you're looking at all these different jobs that are out there, how many will go through and actually list the benefits, and whether it's health benefits, but they go into more. They may list their health benefits, and that's great. You can't find a salary, And I was talking to a colleague, God, what was it? Probably at least 7 months ago. And a job that I had I'll say years ago I'd had, that same job where other people are trying to raise their salary, he had said, oh no, they've cut the salary. I go, wait. So you want to hire the same person for less? So you're going to get quality of person. So you're going to pay the person less, but want the same quality of person. The benefits haven't changed. So why would you do that? So you have a person that had just resigned that was getting paid this. Well, I can't see me, so we're paying this. Now you're going to bring a person with zero experience, literally zero experience, because I saw the individual, zero experience, and pay this person this. So it's just interesting. We're different. Once again, benefits haven't changed. So it's very interesting where we are as society is that we've got to change. And it's not just, well, we have health benefits. Great. What are your health benefits? Unless they're astronomical. Once again, going back to I was with some friends a couple weeks ago, and we were talking health benefits because that's obviously a very topic of conversation lately. And I was blown away at what his company did. And I just go, hold up, you don't pay for anything? I was like, well, there has to be a catch here. He's like, oh no, well, our company picks up, it was like 90% of it. I go, you don't ever quit the company. Don't ever quit this company. Like,
right.
Someone that has had an obscene amount of surgeries and broken every bone pretty much and torn everything in my body. I was astounded that a company would pick up that much of an of their insurance. I just go, run it by me. I go, so if you go, have a surgery, he goes, no, I never see, I think I made co-pays. Like if I see a doctor, I might pay $10. So I go, how much is your insurance? How much? And so he threw the number out of what they're paying. I will not say that number because it's astronomical, but that tells you that the company actually cares in that regard about their employees. But it's more than that. I think that we also think that if there's a ping pong table, that's going to make our employees happy. A ping pong table does not make your employees happy.
I mean, you're highlighting it, right? Like the employee engagement world was Google started giving perks like, hey, hot yoga or free snacks in the break room. And then everyone just went kind of crazy around it. Like, oh yeah, ping pong tables and childcare and bring your dog to work. Like all of these are like additional perks to the benefits. And something went wrong in that process is when like employers realized, oh, like ping pong tables are not important. What's actually important is like, can they put food on the table for their family? Or do they like the job that they're doing? Because you can give them all the perks in the world, they're still miserable and they'll continue to be miserable. And the old adage was like, oh yeah, well, you have to do stuff that you hate. That's just part of life. There's crappy jobs out there and you have to take them. But that's not true. Like when you infuse an organization with an actual purpose, a cause for people to work towards, like they'll do the crappy work because they know that it's leading to something much more important and much better. And it's interesting, especially when we're talking about the car industry, right? Like I'll never forget going into dealerships and just watching like the managers treat the salespeople like cattle. It was like, yeah, we're going to shove them all into the break room. You guys just do your training for an hour and then we'll send them back out to the pasture. And it was like, whoa, like there was no training on how to do the job. To me, I just blown away that we're like implementing this technology that really will help you sell a ton more cars. And yet we're like sitting at the door waiting for the up. Like, what? like, okay, so maybe they just need some training, but the turnover among salespeople, the lack of training, the lack of technology is another big piece, right? Like that's why I love what BZ Consultant stands for is like differentiating facts from feelings, especially when it comes to technology. I mean, holy cow, there are so many options available for tech nowadays that it's overwhelming for managers, directors, GMs to really figure out, is this really going to help us? Because you come in and give me a shiny pitch, but like, even if the CRM rocks, we don't know how to use it. So like, what's the experience behind implementing this technology? That's what's really important and why I think the work that you're doing is so crucial for these dealers.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now it is. There's so many different options out there. It is. You get overwhelmed with, well, this is the best thing. Well, it might be, but how do you know? And even if it is the best tool out there, if no one, going back to training, if no one is there to actually implement it and to oversee it, I don't care if it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Don't get it. If you're not going to use it, do not buy it. And if you're not going to partner with that company, I go back to the relationship. A relationship will only go as far as the person that wants it the least. So if you're not going to go with that, partner with that company, don't do it. Because if you just continue to say, oh, I'm not going to answer your phone calls, I'm not going to answer your text messages, I'm not going to respond to your emails, I'm too busy for you, cut it. Because it's not going to do anything for you if you continue to not engage with a person who is trying to help you, has a hand is reaching down to you. And we went through this as well with multiple implementations, trying to reach down and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. GM or salesperson, we're trying to help you. And they just said, nah, get away from me. I don't have time for you. Then why did you buy our product? Why did you buy our service?
You sound like my wife. She's a marriage and family therapist, and literally that's what she talks about on a daily basis with her clients is the power is held within the individual who values the relationship the least, who needs the relationship the least. And so it's interesting as a leader in an organization, you kind of have to balance between like how much value am I providing into the relationship? Like, how committed am I to making this work? And how much commitment and value are they bringing to the table? What you're highlighting is tons of value coming down. Like, we're ready and willing to do everything we can. But if they're not reciprocating in any way, then like you can be the best consulting group in the world and still fail because it's not up to you. It's a relationship.
Yeah. It's we all have stories about this. So it really comes down to, if you're not going to partner with them, don't get it. Yeah, very, very true. So in your experience, I mean, you obviously do this for a living and it's your baby, very much so. What are some great, what are something you would suggest from engagement wise to check in with, from a company to check in to improve their engagement with their employees?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to note that like so much has changed with the pandemic. I mean, it was already shifting, but hyper accelerated with the pandemic. Like there were CEOs who were never going to be on board with remote work. And everyone was just kind of like waiting around for them to die or quit or leave or something, you know? And all of a sudden the pandemic hits and says like you have no choice. Your business dies or you go remote. And it was in that aspect, even though the pandemic was horrific and has taken an emotional toll on all of us, like that from a work standpoint is beneficial because now we're starting to see an acceleration in like the technology and the way that we treat people. And there's really there's two types of bosses right now. There are two types of managers. One who is kind of like sitting back and waiting for things to go back to normal, can't wait to invite all the employees back to the office so we can just get back to doing it how it's done. And there's an entire separate side of leaders who say the disruption happened, it's continuing to happen. Employees are viewing work much differently. They're being way more introspective than they ever have. They're asking, why am I even doing this? Life is short. I could have died. Like, I should be doing stuff that I love because life truly is short and we should be doing that. And so you see this like shift to, and like I could quote research at you all day of the amount of employees who are leaving, the statistics around like amount of people quitting on a monthly basis, the amount of people who have quit and are never planning to return back to the workforce ever again. And when you get into the stories, you realize like, oh, well, I was doing a job that I hated. I realized that I did hate it. I realized that I could do this job from my bed. So like, why do I have to go into the office 5 times a week for this? And now as they're job hunting, they see company A over here who's like, not remote, have to be in the office 5 days a week. They're like, nope, I don't even care if you got a $5,000 signing bonus. I am never going back to that. And they see the company over here who has been able to progress past that. and they say, okay, like, I don't get $5,000. That's fine by me because I get to sit in my pajamas and do the best work of my life from my room.
Mm-hmm.
That is a shifting power dynamic in organizations. No longer do you have, I'm the boss and you're the employee. I set the rules and you have to do what I tell you to do. And if you don't, we're going to fire you and we're going to replace you with someone new because we can do that. Well, nowadays, like the market is so cutthroat. The talent market is like hotter than ever. It's more cutthroat than it's ever been. And so employers got to kind of backpedal a little bit and say, that's not actually true. Like, we're going to have a really hard time finding someone else and onboarding them and getting them to the point where they're profitable. Like, so what options does that leave? That leaves the employee to say, look, I'm unhappy. And if you can't make me happy, and it doesn't even have to be benefits or pay, like, I'm going to leave. And that's the great shift. That's the great empowerment of employees right now. So some advice I would give is own that power. Like, don't be afraid that employees are gaining power. It's going to happen. And it's important that they realize that they have power, because now you can design employee experiences that thrill them and that want them to be there. And now all of a sudden, you're the organization where people are clamoring to come work for. I mean, out of all these dismal numbers that you're seeing around the Great Resignation, there are organizations right now who are prepared and they're killing it,
Mm-hmm.
and they have 150 applicants lining up out the door. And like, it's because they have emphasized that my employees need to have an experience that matters for them. And if not, I can't hire anyone new. I'm going to lose the guys that I have. And that's kind of the end of it.
Yeah, I've always, like, when you go into any type of interview, there are certain questions you can ask, because I'm sure you know, of going and saying, okay, these are the questions you ask. Once, hey, do you have any questions you'd like to ask us? Now, there are the mundane ritual questions that most people ask, but there are questions that you can pointedly ask to interrogate about their culture. And I think it's really important that you ask those to figure out, okay, what is their culture? Because too often you can have the perfect interview, or the person interviewing you can say, oh, it's fantastic, it's great. And it's not until you get in there, you find out, oh my gosh, what did I do? And so I think that it's just, it's a crazy time we're in right now. And going back to the companies that do it well, I mean, even in the auto industry, I was speaking with a colleague just this week about Walzer. And Walzer they don't let someone on the floor until they have 8 weeks of training, which is, they're not an anomaly. There are other, DG they do another great job where they are very, very good at, hey, we're going to train our employees. We have a good culture. So there are other companies out there, and there are dealerships that do that. But it's so key that you have the culture first and that the selling comes second. Value your employees. As Josh and I are very hot on this topic, it is so key, because the other things are going to come. That, yes, you're going to have turnover. That's inevitable. Like, you're going to have turnover. The other stuff is going to come. If you take care of the employee will run through walls for you. The customer is going to see that you have happy employees. If the employee is miserable, they're not going to hide that too well, which is then going to broadcast on to your customers, which the customer is going to be like, why is everyone here just so miserable? And I'm not going to want to buy a car. I'm not going to want to go shop at someone because they're just miserable everywhere. So just take care of your customers, and it's not going to happen overnight. And if it starts at top, someone's got to change it up top. And if it's at very, very top, it's got to filter all the way down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you highlight the importance of the leader, right? Like, because you can say whatever you want, but what matters is what you do and how you implement it. And you're right. The employer brand comes through the employees. You got to realize these employees are customers. They are your first customers. They're customers that, like, can't leave.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you've got customers who are like, hey, I've got some money that I need to spend on this, and I got 20 different choices. Why do I choose you over everyone else? That is customer experience. But employee experience is like, hey, you've decided to make this a part of your life. It's a lifestyle. And, like, are you enjoying that experience? I mean, Chick-fil-A CEO has been known to say, take care of your employees first,
Yep.
and the rest will take care of itself. Have you ever been to Chick-fil-A, anyone? Holy cow, like
Incredible.
The workers are insane. Just
Yep.
super accommodating, super nice. You see memes go up on the internet of Chick-fil-A employees running across the street to give someone ketchup, like they love it. So what's the deal with Burger King, right? Like same food, same things. I won't say same food because it's
not the same food.
But right, like the idea is like when you are giving your employees that experience, some people choose Chick-fil-A. Obviously the food's great. They will choose Chick-fil-A over something else because they know it's going to be a great experience. And so the employee experience is the customer experience.
It's so true. So last week, it was just experience. It was a rough week all the way around. And it was bad experience after bad experience after bad experience of just horrific customer experience. And I have been a Best Buy customer for very, very long time. And I always buy, they've got the little Geek Squad protection plan. And I've never had to use it when something is broken. But I have moved so many times. I think, man, just since I've lived in Chicago, I think I've moved like 7 times. So in that sense, it's great because normally when you hang a TV, it costs X dollars. And when you have it works out well. Anyways, my phone breaks. I need to use it. I did this I'm not going to go back in the store anyway. So I need to use it. And it was horrific. Like, I don't think I will ever buy another phone from them for how bad this customer service is. So going back to Chick-fil-A, you've got Chick-fil-A, you've got Disney, you've got even CarMax. I mean, there's so many other companies that they don't hire someone and then try to mold them later. You have to fit the mold first and say, all right, we're going to hire people that are Chick-fil-A and insert company worthy. You have to fit this mold and you got to sign off on this or move on. But you know going into it that, hey, I have these qualities to be this person. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to solve the problem. I'm going to listen to the customer. I'm going to do my job. Why? Not just because I signed a piece of paper, because I want to. I know my employer is going to do the same thing for me and they're going to have my back. But if I know my employer is not going to have my back, they don't really care about me. I'm just a number and they don't give a shit about me, to be quite honest. Why would I do anything for them? But it's different when you know your employee has your best interest in mind. Huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing too, right, is like customers know. They're not dumb. They have authenticity filters. Yeah. They can sense it. They can feel it. Like my last experience at CarMax, not to call anyone out by name, but I had to go back 3 separate times, and 3 separate times I had to work with 3 different individuals who, like, almost word for word had their script, right? And I knew when they needed to, like, walk away, hanging out at the desk, doing whatever they need to do, come back. They would, like, sell me so hard on, like, the upgraded service plans. And like, I had to hear the pitch 3 times. And I was like, guys, you've already done this. I've already said no. Can you just mark it in your little book or something that I don't want it so someone doesn't ask me again? And like, I'm a nice guy. I don't yell at managers. It was the first time I was like, let me see your manager, because this is not a great experience for me and I'm not doing great here, right? And that's just like across the board. The customer experience industry experienced it first. The employee experience industry is getting there, right? Like customer experience has evolved, right? I like to call it like the power of the whistleblower. And I'm not talking, like, there are macro examples of this where, like, I don't know if you recall, like, Ellen DeGeneres was toppled because she had employees say, like, this is a toxic work environment and she's all about being kind, and she's not kind, right? And like, her whole career ended. Or there was a CEO of Better.com recently, like, fired 900 employees on a Zoom meeting,
which is insane.
Like, on a Zoom, and like, he had to take an indefinite leave of absence because of it, right? And so, like, on a micro scale or macro scale, you can see, like, employees aren't putting up with it anymore. But like, on a smaller scale, we whistleblow every single day. Amazon's a perfect example. Like, you can put together the best product and pitch it to me, and like, I'll see your sales pitch, but that's not what's important to me. What's important is the actual experience with that product, and that's the reviews. Like, if this has a 2-star review,
Not
I
buying
don't
it.
know if anyone buys 2-star review products. I would not even touch
Never.
it.
Not.
Like if it has 4 stars, I'm not even touching it,
If it's
right?
less than 4 stars, not a chance. If it's like 4.5, you're like, let me look and see why it's 4.5.
Uh-huh. And like to be honest, you get like a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I hate this because I dropped it" or something,
Yeah,
you know? Like
the packaging
you're
was wrong.
smart.
Well, you're an idiot. That's why you don't know how to open packaging. That's your problem.
Yeah, yeah. But like for the most part, if people's experience was good and there's a lot of reviews, you know that this product is tested, it's great, and like I don't know about you, but I buy products on Amazon at the click of a button. When I see
Oh.
4,600 reviews,
Mm-hmm.
5-star, I don't even like this is what I need, so here we go.
Yep.
So that to me is a form of whistleblowing in a way. Another great example is like websites. We don't trust websites anymore. Like
Mm-mm.
if I like I lived in Boston. You got to be careful about where you eat in Boston. Sometimes it's the most amazing food of your life. Sometimes it's the worst. I can go to their website and like they both look amazing because it's your best foot forward. But what I really care about is the Yelp reviews. How someone experienced their time at your restaurant before me. And if there are not great reviews and I see picture of real food that looks super nasty and rats running around the ground, like guarantee I'm not going there anymore. And so that revolution has happened in the customer world. It's happening right now in the employer world. You can't just like put up this facade and say, "Hey, come work for us. Look how hip and cool we are. We got a $5,000 signing bonus. Yeah."
Yeah.
And then you get on the inside and it's like, "Just kidding." Like
JK!
like now they get like if I am looking for a job now and potential employees are getting super smart. Like I'm going to Glassdoor to see
Mhm.
what people have said about the company. I'm going to get on LinkedIn and find some employees of that organization in the department that I'll be on and just say like, "Hey, real talk. Like is this cool or not? Like be real. Low key, yo. Like tell me what's going on here." And like they're going to be honest. Like, "Run. Don't work
Run as fast as
here."
you can.
I mean, if I'm an employer, I'd want to figure that out. Like, if my employee is going to get on the phone with a potential employee and say, "Run for the hills," like that right there is employee power. They are actively detracting from us getting more business, whether it's on the employee side or the potential employer side. Like, there's so much that is shifting right now in for the benefit of the employee, and employers just need to figure it out, right? Like we've already learned that you can't force someone to come back to work if the environment's unsafe and they don't feel like they can go there.
They're not coming
they're
back.
not, they're not going to do it ever. And so you can't just say like, "I'm the boss, you have to do this." It's like, "Oh well, maybe I should figure out what is best for my employees." And guess what, the best way to find out is by asking them. And we do that now through survey data, which still sucks, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
do you like to take a survey?
Well, especially as a survey, if you're an employer, I know with me when I've been asked that a certain company that would do it, we didn't have faith in the company that they were anonymous, and that was our biggest thing. Is that when they did it, we were all very politically correct when we did it, and we would some of us wouldn't fill it out because we did not have faith that they were anonymous, and that was the biggest
Yep.
problem with us.
I mean that is the problem of the employee engagement survey industry, which by the way is $878.3 million. Like it's a huge industry, and they can't solve for employee honesty yet because that is the responsibility of the employer, of the company. They need to figure that out. But you're absolutely right. Like, do you actually trust the authenticity? How about this? Do you actually think that if you were to provide your honest feedback, that the company would use it for your benefit?
No, in fact, the exact opposite. I know that when it did go out, uh, everyone on our team, well, 90% of us on the team, had all had this exact same complaint. And instead of listening to it, they did exact opposite. So the fact that that also proved to us that we're like, okay, so you say it's anonymous, but when we all said the same thing, you guys did exact opposite. So it just reinforced to us that, okay, we don't trust that these are anonymous. And then when that happened, you guys did exact opposite. So yeah,
It's a reckoning for
yeah,
employers.
yeah.
Like you could get away with that pre pandemic, but post pandemic,
Mm-mm.
it's not going to happen. And like And that's like, we're talking just about like survey data, right? There are companies who are analyzing that data well, but are they doing it for the benefit of the employee, or are we just labeling them as detractors? And like, employees aren't being honest, so it's just a huge waste of time. And the reason why they're not being honest is because work is a relationship. You're viewing it like a contract. It is not a contract. It is a relationship. And when you get into that relationship, what does that say about us? That like, hey, I check in with you once a quarter, once a year,
Once a
when
year.
convenient for me,
Mhm.
because I need something from you.
And
That
that's
goes
if they
straight
do.
back.
How many companies don't even do that? I mean,
Yeah, right?
you and I both know how there's a large percentage of companies that don't even do a performance review, which is like, so if you give a raise, how are you basing it? Oh, you sold a lot. Oh, you're a nice person. That's not a merit for a salary increase. Like, how are you not doing performance reviews?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting too, right? Because like, the fact that employees will hold back information is power in and of itself. Like, being politically correct, like you said, the reason why we do that is because it's like, oh, well, like, there's a promotion on the line, or like, I don't want to be the one who calls this person out or calls this process out, because now I'm like the center of attention. And like that, there's a power struggle there. And what we're realizing now is that employers cannot afford to not hear their employees' experience, because guess what? Employees hate it here.
Yep.
They hate it. And they haven't told you, like, to your face. They're like, oh yeah, I think that's a great initiative. And then they're slacking behind your back, like, this is never going to
I
work.
hate you.
This is bullshit. Like, there's no way
Yes.
this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm leaving. And they're like, whoa, like, we're getting blindsided here. What's the deal? And it's like this concept of exit interviews, like, oh, you're leaving?
Oh,
Let's talk to you after the fact
bullshit.
and see what we can do better. And it's like, you should know months before employees even decide to leave. And you should know all of the intricate pain points, because if you don't, like, employees are going to continue to leave, and you're going to continue to not know why. And that is employee power.
Well, I
You need to
think
own that.
even taking it one step further, even if you approach someone, whether that be a manager, whether it be HR, you're not being heard. And whether that was pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, so many people are not being heard. And then it's like, what do you mean you're leaving? Well, I went to you multiple times. You weren't hearing me. You weren't listening to me. You may have seen my mouth move, but you're not hearing me. So you can play that you didn't hear me, but I tried to approach you multiple. I didn't try. I approached you multiple times, and this is happening in so many different industries, as you well know, that even from an HR standpoint, that you go to someone and say, hey, this is what's going on, or a much more serious issue. Once again, being a female in a very male dominant industry, any female in a male dominant industry, or any other issue, is that you can go to HR about stuff, and it's, you know what, I think you're overreacting.
Mm-hmm.
What? So when you try to go to someone about something and they don't want to listen, you just need to calm down, or we'll do something about it, and then you're just, no one wants to listen to you. So there's so
Yeah.
many things that play. Either you hold it in to be politically correct, or on the other hand, someone actually does go, whether it's male or female, and their concerns are just brushed aside. So at that point,
Mm-hmm.
why would I continue to go to you if you're not going to listen to me?
Yeah. I mean, nowadays employees have so many options for employment.
Yeah,
Whether you believe it or not, like, there were 4.3 million job openings just last month. That is
it's insane.
astronomical. You
That's
can go anywhere you want and work anywhere you want. And I would suggest maybe now's a great time for you to quit your job, because you could get way better benefits and better pay somewhere else. And that is important, because like, if you aren't listening to employees, then you're just going to lose. I mean, imagine within like the employee interview process, right? Like, hey, potential employee, come sit down, chat with us. Like, we're looking over you, waiting for you. to say and do your pitch, and we're going to decide if you're good or not. The role is flipped. Employees are interviewing you. Like, are you listening to me in this interview? Are you being kind? Is your culture coming out strong? Do you have these options for me? Like, I'm going to sit down and interview you. And if you can't answer all these questions, I'm out. And the employers are like, oh, shoot, wait, hang on. No, we can match that offer with this. Like, we don't have to be here, dude.
Yeah.
And you don't have that power anymore.
No.
So I think it's a huge reckoning. I feel like there's a lot of actionable things that we can do now, but I think you nailed it. The most important thing that you can be doing is to be listening to your employees, listening to your family, listening to your friend. Just stop and listen to people in your life who you have a relationship with. Just listen to them and their experience. Don't try to solve it. Don't try to come up with solutions. Just stop and listen. And I guarantee if you can create an environment of trust and authenticity, show them that you actually do care, they will tell you things that you never thought existed at the organization. They will tell you what to do to solve it. Mm-hmm. They will give you everything that you need to know to make it happen. And if you're humble enough to implement that feedback, you will survive the now of work.
And I'm mic drop right there. So awesome. Josh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on today, being a part of this. We've got a few lightning round questions here. Anyone that comes on, need like little.
This is great.
Yes. All right. So outside of what you do, what are some of your favorite hobbies? What do you like to do to unwind? What does you like to do outside of work?
I love to beatbox. I'm a semi-pro beatboxer, so I like boom chicka pow pow.
That was super
with my son. It's pretty good, right? I play hockey.
I can vouch for this too. He's incredible.
I just started playing hockey. I moved to Minnesota and said, let's figure it out. So at 34, I put skates on for the first time to go out there and figure out how to do it. I'm getting destroyed by these Minnesotans, but it's super fun. And I just love to eat. Like sushi. The next time we're in the same town together, we're going to get sushi. I don't even care.
Yes. There are a few good places up there too. So, and yes, obviously.
Oh, please.
Well. Yeah.
Give me the deets. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. You've traveled a lot. So where's your favorite vacation spot? You have a one-way or a round trip ticket. Where are you guys going?
Switzerland.
Ooh.
I love Switzerland. It's such a great place. We went there for Christmas a few years ago, and that's what got me through the pandemic, is just remembering like, oh, there was a time where things were beautiful.
Oh, man, last time we were there, we went zip lining through the Alps, and it was absolutely amazing. So much fun.
The fact that you can actually do that is crazy. We went up to Murin on the gondola. We, like the Via Ferrata, where you like hang off the edge of the cliff, hanging onto this rod. Like, there's some crazy stuff out there.
Plus, I'm a chocolate fanatic, so I very few I don't like a lot of sweets, but I do like chocolate, and the chocolate there, incredible.
So good.
So good. All right, in what you do all the time, what is something that you're constantly trying to with your clients and your company that you're trying to distinguish facts from feelings in what you do?
This is getting personal. I grew up extremely religious, a large Mormon family in Utah. And I feel like that's kind of who I was when we first met in 2011. I feel like the facts versus feelings thing is more relevant than ever. With political discourse going on, with, the racial tensions, with the coronavirus, it's funny, you just mention these things and people just start popping off with their opinions and throwing facts at you, and the birth of fake news. I say the birth of fake news. It's been around forever in the form of propaganda, but now more than ever, it's so important to question what you've believed, that someone just told you when you were 6. You need to question that. I'm sorry, you do.
Yep, agreed.
The things that people tell you in today's world, the hard part is it feels right. It feels like it aligns with my values, but that doesn't always mean that it is right. And so going to Harvard, a very liberal place for me, who was extremely conservative, was but like I learned that, there are just other ways to live life. And there's a lot of like, hey, we're different, but that's totally cool. Like I actually appreciate that. And I wish we could do that more and better. Just like, hey, we believe two different things and that's okay.
Yep.
But there is a need for like the facts, and we need to be mindful of that and question our leaders, question everything.
Yep. I think I've always had a very firm believer in that as soon as someone is old enough to travel, they need to get outside their bubble, get outside the United States, get outside and be a minority, be outside where you are not, you're outside your comfort zone. You'll be able to appreciate the United States better. You'll be able to appreciate the world better, and not be around people that are like you. Because too often, like you said, is that you grow up thinking this is reality. And what happens with that is especially if you're born into a community or a culture that you have these blinders on, whether that's good or bad, whatever, is that you think that this is reality, and that is not reality. There's so much more to the world. There's a massive world, and when you're born into a city or a town, or even if it's New York City and Manhattan, that's big, but there's so much more to the world, and you need to, if you have the means to do it, you have a job to do it, see the world and open your eyes to other people, other cultures, other religions, other everything out there, because there's just so much more to the world, and it will make you appreciate all the other people in this world. Cannot stress that enough. So.
Well, and I think it's interesting because you need to even question that, because I thought I was doing that, to be honest. Like I served a 2-year mission in Montreal, Canada for my church, went out and like in the world, like experiencing it. Or like I took world religion courses at BYU, Brigham Young University, where it's all like what you're talking about, but it's still within the context of the bubble.
Still in the bubble.
And so like how many bubbles are there, and how many do we have to pop through? And my argument is that like we got to continue to do this our entire life.
Yep.
Like
keep questioning.
Like you call me racist back in the day, I would fight you. Like I'm not racist. And pop that bubble and realize, oh shoot, maybe I am. I don't even know. Like your experience is different from my experience, and maybe we can just talk it out. Maybe we can just like find some common ground here, or let me know how I have offended you so that I don't do that anymore. And so, deep lessons. We're getting philosophical.
I know. This getting really deep, but it's true. And I just continue to grow, and none of us are perfect, and continue to grow and continue to open your eyes, open your heart, open your soul, open your eyes. So I got really deep there for Facts Not Feelings, but it's true.
Let's have that be the ending. Like that is the name of the episode. Like open your heart, open your eyes, open your mind. Like mindfulness. We're kumbaya here. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you so much.
Just thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, catching up with you. It's been a minute. So, and being on the show and sharing a much needed topic that needs to be heard by so many people in so many different industries. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. Be safe and be kind to everyone. Lend a helping hand when you see someone out there. Just be nice to people, everyone. Thank you so much, and empower your employees. Tell them yes. Let them do what they've got to do. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.